All right, so today, guys, I have the opportunity of bringing on one of my friends, and I'm going to read you his bio. I met him recently in person, and I did not know how tall he was and how large of a man he was. Bro, you look like a fucking NFL tight end. Is really what I would put you at. Like, I played high school football, but
Yeah,
you look like a fucking tight end. How tall are you?
I'm 6'7".
And what? How much do you weigh?
When you saw me, I was actually 248. I'm 229 right now. I'm at the tail end of phase three. I lost 20 pounds at
Jesus.
phase three, bro.
So you're just shredded.
I'm shredded, bro. I'm shredded
Can
as hell.
now, as a white man that is 6 feet tall and about 205 pounds, I can't dunk. Can you dunk?
Again.
You can.
Yeah.
See, some of us, just normal people that are 6 feet tall, can't do things like that. So you look like a fucking athlete. As when I saw you, I was like, Jesus Christ. Because typically, when I see another male, typically I carry more muscle. Typically, I'm in better shape. Sometimes I'm taller. I mean, I'm 6 feet,
Mm.
so I'm not drastically tall, but typically taller than people. And then I saw you, and I was
Above
like,
average.
yeah, I'm above average, damn it. And I saw you, and I was like, shit, holy shit.
Yeah.
But so I got to read your background real quick, man. You know, and then we're gonna do our all our normal stuff. But let me read your background and or your bio and get this done properly here. And Greg is a Tennessee native raised by military parents that had an early desire to serve others. After college, Greg commissioned into the United States Army as an Army officer and spent 11 years serving the best country to ever be. Of course, that's ours. He deployed to both Afghanistan and Iraq, led soldiers in combat, and was twice awarded the Bronze Star for his actions overseas. Greg's time, experience, and training in military gave him the foundation that Delta Financial is built upon. His beliefs that leadership and building a winning culture of discipline and selfless service is the foundation of any great organization. For over 4 years, Greg learned the insurance company, gained the skills to become a record breaking producer, and infused his leadership style into the teams and agents that have come to follow him. Greg's determination to become the best and serve others to reach those same top levels are what sets Delta Financial apart from other organizations in the insurance industry. Everything in this business comes down to discipline, hard work, and service to others. If you can maintain those three with a positive attitude, you will succeed beyond your wildest dreams and help others do the same along your journey. Be the difference, redefine excellence. Greg, I really appreciate you being here, buddy. Thank you for giving us your time and blessing us with your knowledge today. Myself personally am a rookie in the insurance industry. Just recently, in my late 30s, I've purchased my second insurance policy. My first one was a term just to cover some bank loans. The bank was like, "Hey, Chris, if you die, we need to make sure we can pay. You could pay your debts." I didn't know that's what a term life insurance policy was. I thought it was like, you know, insurance, not just to cover debt from a bank is really what it came down to.
Yeah.
But
It happens.
yeah, I didn't know that until like 2 months ago. And I've had the term policy for like a decade. I recently got an IUL, and that thing seems like a beast.
Oh,
But
dude. Dude, that's like the IUL is like a Roth IRA meets a whole life policy meets a term. So it's basically like an investment vehicle that's paired up with life insurance. It has all the benefits of a Roth IRA of tax-free growth so that you can build your own bank basically and your own tax-free egg in retirement, but it doesn't have the downside of the limitations on how much you can put in each year, the limitations of how much you can make in order to use it. And dude, it's just a massive, like it's completely just underutilized because the IRS doesn't want you to know about it because of IRS code 7702, which allows it to do the things it does and not get touched by the IRS because it's backed by life insurance.
Yeah, the my friend Jamie, she's a fucking hitter, dude. She's in the insurance agency industry, and she has like 6,000 people that work for her.
Mm.
She introduced me to it, and like I was immediately attracted to her because she's at least another level or two above where I am. Like her, I think her note on her house is like $40,000 a month. Like that's like her main house. So like
Wow.
yeah, when you're in that bracket, you know what
Insurance
I mean?
is, you
Yeah.
make a lot of money in insurance.
And you know what? And she was super cool about everything. She's like, "Oh, Chris, you need the rich man's life insurance policy. I'm going to teach you about IULs." And I'm like, "Okay, teach me." And she's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Just take my money. Whatever.
Here you
Just
go.
take I don't know, whatever. Just
Yeah.
take it." But, it was interesting you said that. There was a limit. I think I capped out at like putting 5 grand a month in or something like that.
Yeah. So in terms of the growth, there's no limit, but the insurance company, you can be too overinsured. So the insurance company will set a limit depending upon how much you make and also what they're willing to insure on you. Right now, a good IUL has to be, it's a balance between how much money is going towards the actual life insurance policy and how much is going towards the investment, because it's basically split into two different pots. So where the limitation comes in is the actual life insurance side, because they're like, hey, we're only going to really cover you for like 10 million, bro. Like we're not covering you more than that, because it's also a financial limitation on them. Because if you did pass away, they're like, man, we're in the hole for a lot of money. So
And the way that she broke it up was like it was different. The bank versus the insurance policy were two different amounts, but the gross amount was approximately my net worth. And the way that she broke it all up was super advantageous. And I love the fact that it's not taxed. The money's not taxed on the way in, and the money's not taxed on the way out. I have a question for, which is, I'm like moving past that really quick. Your money's not taxed on the way in, and your money's not taxed on the way out. So
that's the benefit of being a business owner, bro.
so let me ask you a question. So like something I don't know, when I go to file my taxes, and like for the last quarter of Q4 for 2022,
Yeah.
is that IUL expensed?
It's expensed.
It is expensed.
It'll be a business expense. Like for instance, I have an IUL on myself that I pay $2,000 a month into, but it's all out of pre-tax funds that come from my business. But it's for my business. Something happens to me, that money's going to go towards the business and everything, but it's also getting tax-free growth at the same time. So it's not taxed on the way in, not taxed on the way out. So
yeah, so we're in the same boat. Yeah. I'm going to want to hear all about Delta Financial. But before we get into that, man, tell me, dude, you sent me 2 bios, and I was like looking at these bios and I was like, fuck, man, like both of them are really good. I don't know which one to do, but we decided to do your professional bio. However, your second bio is really vulnerable, and something that I have found in life, especially leadership, is if you really want to make impact and influence and be able to lead people, leading with vulnerability is like a complete superpower, especially for males. And I was wondering, do you want to talk about your second bio before we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. I have I've gotten to a point, I mean, to be honest, this kind of stuff, I was embarrassed and I was ashamed of it, and I was ashamed of my actions, and I didn't really want to talk about it. And then over time, I faced it, really. I took accountability for my actions, but not to get ahead of myself. When I was in the military, I was married. I've got 4 kids, four beautiful children I love. I just got back from Tampa visiting them. And while I was in the military, my first deployment when I went to Iraq, a very challenging deployment on a relationship. And it always is whenever you're deployed. It's just hard it's hard on the family too. And my wife had just had a baby, our second child, and she had postpartum depression. And so the first 90 days, it was probably 69 days of deployment. She called me every single day, or I called her, and she would just cry. She was like, I miss you. I want you to come home. This, that, the other. Like, you got to come home. Like, see if there's a way. I was like, I can't come home. It's not happening, right?
Yeah.
Uncle Sam's not going to let me come home because you're sad. There you have it, bro.
No.
So it got real. It wore on me. It really wore on me. And it got to the point to where, one day I just snapped and I was like, suck it the fuck up. Knock it the fuck up. Like, I'm going to stop calling you if you don't knock this shit off. Right. I'm tired. I got to go out. I was attached to an infantry company. I was going out in sector every single day. And I was just like, I don't have time to fucking coddle you. Like, I didn't join the team to sit on the bench, and you knew that. Like, it's go time, and I need you to man up. And it was like a defining moment in our relationship, because that was the moment that she just snapped, and she was just
I was just going to ask. Yep.
and she was like, all right. And she completely went, it was like a pendulum that swung the opposite direction. She completely went the opposite direction. She was like, I don't need you. I don't want to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And she started to drift away. And through that drifting, she found solace in talking to a man that she worked with. She was working at the time. And she ended up having, long story short, she had an affair on me, and I found out when I came home during my mid-tour leave. I found out. I held it in for a long time. I didn't say anything about it, didn't do anything about it, but it ate at me. And eventually there came a point where another thing happened that I was like, she was still in contact with the same guy years later after my second deployment. And while she was pregnant with our fourth kid, my youngest son. And that was just like, nope, not okay. And I used that as an excuse to have an affair on her. And I had an affair with her, and then it over time it ate at me. Probably about 3 or 4 months went by, and she could tell that I was different. She'd tell I was like way more stressed. She'd tell us like I was like lashing out at random stupid things, and she finally was like, you got to talk to me. You got to tell me what's going on, and it's weird. It was this crazy experience where her and I were sitting on the bed, and it was the day I told her. It was the night I told her that I had an affair. I'd never felt, and this is crazy, I'd never felt fear or like anxiety like that in my life. And I've been deployed. I've been, I've been blown up. But in that moment, I was so afraid to tell her the truth, bro. It was so frightening to me. And I was like, but it was like at the moment, it's like you're at the precipice and you're looking over and you're like, I'm going in. Like, this is happening right now. And I told her, and I was just like, man, our relationship's done. Like, she's leaving me. And she didn't. She just looked at me and she was like, oh my God, I cheated on you too. I was like, yes, I know. Like, I already knew about it. She didn't know that I knew. I just kept it in all those years. Right. And this really like weird kind of cathartic moment happened, and we like connected, and we were like, we're going to go to counseling or to therapy. Ultimately, it didn't end up working. There's a lot of fighting that's kind of spread from that. And we ended up getting a divorce. Right. And that was a very depressing moment in my life because, I identified as a husband, as a father. I love my children deeply, and I used to come home every day, and I would come home and be in uniform. I'd be taking my uniform off, and they'd be playing with me, and I'd do this thing where I'd like throw them around the bed. And it was just always like I'd come in the door and they'd just be like, daddy, daddy, screaming, every single time they see me. And literally like in a moment, like one day it's that, and the next day they're gone, and I come home and it's pure silence. Dude, it was the most fucking depressing moment in my life. Like, it was just, I felt at my lowest, and I became very like, it spiraled. Like the rest of my military career, I was mentally, I spiraled, and it was one of the things that drove me to get out was the separation from my kids, and ultimately that affair was my demise, coming out of the military. And so, I came out of the military, and I felt like, I'm going to do this I get this new lease on life. Right. And I'm going to do something with it. And that's how I got into insurance, became an entrepreneur, started working for myself, because I was always a high performer. I always got top ratings. I always did my best to impress everyone that I worked with. And I had a lot of potential. But my personal life was a shit show. Right. I didn't deal with the trauma and the things that happened with my with my previous marriage and my ex-wife and everything that I did. It was well, she did this. She did this, so it's okay. And it's not okay. Right. And that baggage carried into every relationship that I had from there on. You know, I had some crazy experiences with relationships. Like I was a shit show of a person, and it was holding me back to what my true potential was. And I mean, ultimately it all came to a head. I had a girlfriend that, I'm not going to go into huge details, but she ended up walking in on me, right after we broke up, and I was with another woman. Like I would break up with somebody and I would get with someone the next day because I was so afraid of being alone. Mm-hmm. I was had these dependency issues.
I've been there, dude. I was codependent too.
I was so codependent, and I would just be like, well, like I'm on the market, and I would go find the first thing smoking, right? And I was like, you're attractive, I'm attractive, let's go, right? Mm-hmm. And she walked in on me and just in the act, bro, and beat the hell out of me. And she got it. Yeah, she got just the cops were called. The only thing that saved me, she said that I attacked her. The only thing that saved me was that there was another person there that was like, no, she walked in and just started beating the shit out of him because I'm a massive dude and this is a tiny woman. Obviously the cops are gonna, probably believe her over me. Mm-hmm. So that was when I was like, man, I was sitting there on my couch while the cops separated all of us and talking to everybody. And when cops looking at me, and I have above, you can't see it, but above these two guidons is my company guidon. So I have a company guidon. It's massive. And it was actually hanging in the living room at the time over my fireplace. And he looks up and he was like, dude, you're in the service? And I was like, yeah, bro. And he was like, all right, that's cool, man. He's like, what do you do now? I was like, I'm in insurance. He was like, so you were dating both of these girls and they're both highly attractive women. And I was like, yeah. He was like, dude, you got a crazy life. I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, dude, I don't know what decisions I made to get to this point in time, but they weren't good, obviously. So that female actually introduced me to the one that walked in. That was she was like my last kind of crazy experience, but she introduced me to Andy Frisella. I'd never heard of him before. And she was like, hey, this thing's called 75 Hard. You want to try it? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I work out every day. I'm cool with it. So we did it. We were doing it together before we broke up. And we got 20 days in, 20, 25 days in and tried it. And it was like, oh, yeah. She ended up falling out day 15, but I just kept going. And then one day I was just like, I got it. It's workout twice a day. So diet, got it. Reading. Okay. I already read. And when her and I broke up, it was the end of 2020, 2021 starts. And I was a little, down and depressed, but I went to a therapist and she basically broke it down. She was like, Greg, the reason that you're having all these issues with relationships and picking women is because you're not looking at a complete picture. She's like, she compared it to a dresser and drawers. She said, there's 4 drawers in a dresser. And let's say one drawer socks, then underwear, then a shirt, then shorts, right? Next, for women, when you pick a woman, you pick a partner, you're looking for somebody, you got physical attractiveness, you got a mental connection, right? Spiritual connection, and then agreeable life goals. You guys understand each other, you're on the same path, right? She said, right now you're picking 1, maybe 2 of those drawers. So that's you going outside every day with just socks or socks and underwear. She's like, does that make a lot of sense? And I was like, well, no, not really. She put it in that perspective. I was like, you're not wrong. Because everything was just about the hottest physical attractive girl that I could find that we connected with, and the smallest connection, right?
Oh, I've been there.
So I decided, I'm like, I need to focus on myself. I need to get used to being alone, right? Which was really difficult when you go from one relationship to the next, and it's a day to 3 days max. So I ended up staying single throughout the first full quarter of the year, and it was, I remember it's February 2021. It was right after Valentine's Day. Texas actually got an ice storm. And so it was the Saturday after that ice storm.
I remember that ice storm. It fucked you guys up.
Yeah, it fucked us up bad.
Yeah.
So
we were laughing at you up here in New England. We were like, ha, suckers.
Sucks to suck.
Go use your spatulas or some shit. Figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I was supposed to fly. My mom's birthday is on Valentine's Day. So I was like, well, I'm not going to stay in the house by myself. I'm single. I'm still sad about being alone, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to stay in my house. I'm going to go visit my mom. Well, that flight got canceled. So I'm stuck in the house and I'm just working. And I was like the first year started, I was like, I'm refocusing on my work. I'm refocusing on the job, and I'm really going to pour myself into this. And so I listened to this podcast. I listened to the Real Life podcast. It was the episode is Omar v 75 Hard. I'll never fucking forget it. It was Saturday that I was listening to it. And as I'm listening to it, he's talking about his experience. And he's like, there's a lot of people out there that, do it like 20, 25 days. And they think, oh yeah, I got it. He's like, you don't fucking got it. And I was like, dude, this guy's speaking right to me. Right. And he starts talking about all the changes. He's like, dude, all the changes are in the end, or like day 70, day 75. Like that, you are a different human being at the end. You're a different person. He's like, I was a different man. And I'm sitting there listening to this. I was like, I need to do this. Like I'm a shit show. And I need to stop doing this stuff. And so I committed, dude. I literally did it the next day. I started the next day. I was just like, nope, I'm doing it. That was the first time I went through 75 hard. And I can tell you, it changed my entire life. It changed who I am. It changed my business. It changed how I am as a leader. It changed every aspect of my life. But when I tell people the stories because I don't care what difficult situation has happened to you, where you're at in life, how low you think you are, you can always go up from there. There's always a way up, right? You just got to kind of you have to do the work. And there was about, I'd say day 30, about halfway through 75 hard. I was sitting in church. I started going back to church, started praying a lot. And because I'd gotten out of it, and I was like, I'm going to go. I watched the movie Yes Man, just a side note. I watched the movie Yes Man, and I saw like at the beginning of it, and how he's like saying yes to all these opportunities, and like it has this really positive experience, right? That ends up kind of going crazy in the movie. But anyways, the point of it is that you got to be open to opportunities. That's the point of the movie, and there's a good lesson there. So I started saying yes to all these things. So my buddy's like, you should start going back to church, and I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. You should start tithing, and I was like, yes. It was like, hey, that's how I started recording podcasts, was because
that's a big one, by the way, tithing.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge one. It's a huge one. And I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again, because I used to do it when I was in the military. So I used to do combatives. I started practicing another language, started practicing Spanish, because my mom's Puerto Rican and speaks Spanish, but I do not. Neither did any of my siblings. I started to do podcasting. That was how I started podcasting, because someone was like, why don't you get on video and like record stuff? Because I started to like get really good at sales. And they're like, you should just get on and start talking to people and like share your information. And I was like, yeah. First time I started recording, I sucked. I was terrible. I wasn't even, I couldn't form sentences, 3 in a row before, losing my train of thought. So I'm in church and I'm sitting there, and I was taking sacrament, and I had this like overwhelming urge to pray and to start repenting. And I don't know why. It was like the Spirit came over me. I don't know, but I just felt it. And what started off as just like a repenting of like the most recent, like, hey, this is where I am right now in life. I started to dig deep and go back further and go back further. And I was like going back all the way back to my marriage, of like every single thing that I had done, and it was on me. And it was in that moment that I realized that like, I am here because of the decisions that I made, and it's not on them. It doesn't matter if I was with a crazy ex-girlfriend or my ex-wife did this. I made those decisions. I did that. And I am here. I am the master of my destiny. I'm the author of my story. And right now, I'm leaving it up to chance. There's 4 things, like in the speech, there's 4 things we control: what we think, what we feel, what we say, and what we do. And I was letting circumstances control my actions and my feelings and my thoughts. And I was giving it up to that. And there's very few things we control, like 4 things. It's not that much. But I was giving them up, and I was blaming everyone else for my circumstances. And that's why I was where I was. And I had this, it was a difficult prayer. I started crying, actually. It got to a point to where it was like this weight released, because I acknowledged what my demons are, what my faults were. And now it's like, okay, now I can move forward. Now I can actually move forward productively. And I know where my triggers are. I know where I'm weak at. And man, it was such a defining moment in my past 5-6 years of all this madness.
It was your aha moment.
Yeah, it was.
You had a download.
So
you know this, right? There's three consciousness. There's conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Superconscious is getting spoken word from spirit, God, source, universe, Buddha, Allah, Jesus, whatever we want to call it. And you had a download in your superconscious is I think the technical way it would be said when it comes to psychology and law of attraction specifically. But before we go down that route, there's a lot that I could say right now, but I think what's most important is to accent what you said at the end, which was you didn't point fingers. You owned it. You owned everything. When you were talking about the divorce with your wife, you never once made her sound like a villain. You didn't make her sound like an enemy. You didn't make her sound like it was her fault. Actually, you owned it all. And that is a huge superpower in life, let alone in business. When we can look in the mirror and be like, you know what? This is my responsibility. And that's the first chapter to my book.
Yep.
You're wrong and it's your responsibility. And that's why I teach it that way too. And for you to be able to look in the mirror and own it. And basically what you're saying is I wasn't the man I needed to be for my wife. And it's my responsibility. And the amount of people that will take that responsibility is far and few between. I mean, I really feel that's what separates the 95% to probably the 5%, or maybe the 99 to the 1%. But it's within that 4% spread. Like the amount of people that are cool with their mistakes and own it is vastly spread out. And the interesting part about it is every single person that I have a conversation with about this topic is successful and is on the rise or has done something of meaning and impact, and people follow and or are a part of their life because they can own their shit. And just to kind of put a polarity in it, you know, I was sitting in a meeting yesterday with my team, and one of our fundamental things with two of our team members is really working on their communication. Their communication skills has a lot of room for improvement. And being a military guy myself, communication comes simple to me. However, it's my company. My team isn't communicating. Whose responsibility is that? It's mine.
Yours.
It's not theirs. Could they do better? Yeah, they recognize it. They understand it. However, it's still my responsibility. And in this case, I hate this word, but when the boss points at the employees, which I hate that word too, and says, hey, listen, this is your fault. That type of person that points the finger is the same ding dong in a divorce that says it's the other person's fault. Because in reality, it's shared responsibility at the least, if not the other way around, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to point that out, that it was really powerful that you said it that way. And I think it puts a beautiful example on vulnerability and extreme ownership. When it comes to those two things, I respect them, and I'm happy that you're able to put it on display. And I really kind of want to go back into that moment where you realized that, hey, this is my fault. When you were at church, it sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
Did that really kick up your personal development journey?
Oh, man.
Oh yeah. Let me hear it.
Yeah, bro. It was the moment of alignment, honestly. And if you like, for those of you watching, to understand like how alignment truly works, it's like two opposites that are just coming together at the perfect moment, you know, and the perfect space. And there's all kinds of factors and things that could come to fuck it all up or to keep it from happening, but it still happens through all the challenges, the twists, the turns, all that. But it comes to this specific moment in perfect harmony. And it was like me as a person and who I was and what I was supposed to be, my potential self. And it was like we finally came to an alignment, because the actions that I was doing beforehand were not in alignment with the person who I could have been. And I mean, in my heart, and I think this is for everybody, in my heart, I'm like, I'm a good person. I care about people. I want to serve people. I want to help people, right? But my actions are not in alignment with that. And so when I kind of identified that in the moment. And I took ownership for it. And I was like, man, I'm here because of me. It was this moment where like of clarity and alignment where I started to align with the person I'm supposed to be. And that was in,
That's
I was
powerful.
in Mark, dude. I'm telling you, it was the most cathartic and powerful moment I've had in my adult life.
That's super
Aside from
powerful.
my four children being born.
Which is also super powerful.
Yeah. So to give guys, everyone here a perspective, I'm in the insurance industry. Okay. So for those of you listening, average insurance agents sell 10,000 AP annual premium a month. That's average, right? There's a lot of people that sell under that. And if you look at like people that are top performers, they're selling, it's considered a top performer if you're selling 20,000. Okay. My average up to there was about 40,000 a month, which is a lot, right? That means I'm taking home about 40K a month, right? So my average is 40,000. The max I'd ever done is 55,000. I always wanted to hit 100,000. I always want to do 100,000 a month just to say I did it. Because there's only like
that $1 million mark if you do it monthly.
Yeah, it's $1 million mark if you do a month, exactly. And so I had never done it. And I'd always there was like 5 or 6 people in our company that had done it. It was like a status that very, very few people had done. Mm-hmm. And so my goal when I started 2021 was like, I'm going to do 100K a month, right? I'm in 75 hard. I have this cathartic moment and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And right after that happens, I'm I'm ready for this. I'm going to do this. One of my mentors at that time, he was like, hey, we're doing a thing where this other agent said that they're going to do 100,000 this next month in April. And if she doesn't make it, then she owes me 5,000. So she's on the hook. Like she's putting money in. If she makes it, I'm going to give her 5,000. Who else wants to do this? And that was the moment where I was like, yes, I love this. Like it's going to force me. Right.
That's it. Just 5%. That's all it took.
I was like, but it was like skin in the game, right?
Yeah,
it was there was skin in the game. I'm in for this. So I committed it was like March 30th, right? March 31st, the next day, I'm still on 75 hard. I'm doing my run. I'm doing my outdoor run. And every single time I do a run, I had Andy in my headphones. I'm listening to Real AF. I'm just listening through podcasts. And I don't remember what he said, but he said something that got me thinking about setting massive goals. And it was like setting really, really big goals. And I was like, yeah, setting big goals. I was like, I'm doing 100,000. But my subconscious, this is all like my conscious. I'm like running through this. I'm like, but 100,000 has been done. Is that really a big goal? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, what's not been done? 200,000 has not been done. 200,000. Can it be done? Can I do 200,000? I'm doing 200,000. I'm going to do 200,000 in a month. And I literally stopped the podcast. I'm still on a run. I call my buddy. He's a lieutenant colonel right now. He's still in the military. He's in battalion command, but he also owns a company called Fifth Dimension Potential, and he helps other companies with organizational leadership and structure. And so I was his first client. Him and I work together now.
COO.
So I call him and I'm like, and he already knows everything. Like he knows everything about my business. He knows I'm already doing the challenge, all this stuff. And he's the one that's like, dude, you should go to church. He was the one talking to me, telling me to do this stuff. So I'm like, yo, Mitch, I'm doing 200,000. And he was like, and he knew exactly what I meant. He knew exactly the thought process that he was like, okay, hey, how many appointments do you need to set each week? What's your lead flow need to look like? What's this? And we start crunching numbers on the phone while I'm still.
That's the exact answer that should be said.
Yeah, it was this perfect moment, right? And we literally, while I'm finishing this run, we literally just talk through the plan. We get through it, and then I call up my mentor that's in the business. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna do 200,000. You're gonna give me $10,000 if I do 200,000? He was like, fuck yeah, give me $10,000. And I was like, done, it's happening. And so, dude, that month of April, I worked so much. I recorded so much because I would record each week after I got done what happened that week, my thoughts, my failures, what I learned, how I'm trying to improve, and what my goals are for the next week, et cetera. It happened to be a 5-week month for that month because of the way that March ended and April started for our business. So it was a 5-week month. So I had 5 different recordings I did, and I ended that month at 225,000. I'd never done
buddy.
I'd never done anything over 55,000. And so that's the power of alignment. That's a power of like of building a momentum day after day of doing these mundane tasks, these monotonous tasks that build you up and build up your mindset, your mental toughness, your grit, your discipline, all these things. But also when you can just account for the things that you have done and what you're not doing, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, man, I'm a piece of shit because of this. I'm going to fix it, right? And you actually own it. You don't just like ignore it. Man, you can move forward so much faster with so much more speed. So it's completely
Yeah.
changed my business.
Congratulations, bro. That's a hell of a month.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to put it into perspective. Like you're in the insurance industry. Like, that's, if let's just say you hit that every month, I mean, you're getting close to $3 million net income, a year annually. So that's big. That's
off
really
of my own
fucking
pet.
big.
Off of my
Exactly. Exactly. That's big. And, you were talking about alignment. I think my question for you about alignment is this, as a business owner now, as an entrepreneur, and being really big on leadership and core values, I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to tell a quick story just to kind of foreshadow it.
Okay.
Do you think that having core values in that will create alignment, not only within ourselves, but with the people that you work with, to create the culture that you desire as the leader of the company? What I'm saying is, does alignment with core values dictate good culture, is what I'm saying. And I know you're going to answer the question, and I'm just going to quickly touch on the first time I ever found core values was when I entered the Army. And the Army gives you core values. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit? But the interesting part about it is those core values have carried over for almost, I went in 2004, so 18 years. And I've been an entrepreneur for 14. And I know my answer, but I want to know your perspective on, does alignment with core values create the culture that the founder of the company desires?
Yes. Short answer, yes, it does. And here's how. Here's how.
No, you don't say.
Yes. So when you're the owner, when you're founder, you're creating an organization, a company, a team, whatever. You can even do team core values, right? It doesn't matter if you're leading a section, and you're in charge. Your core values are what you stand for. These are your beliefs. This is the way that you're going to interact with each other, how you're going to interact with your clients, with your customers, with your third parties that you do business with that help support the business, right? It's everything. It's how you speak to each other, right? It's your work ethic. It's everything that you believe in. You set the pace on that. And the reason that you want to set the pace is because you want to have people that are aligned with the same exact thing. So when you actually, and that was something that I wasn't doing before, that changed, and how I changed Delta Financial, because quite frankly, in the insurance industry, there's a very low barrier to entry. You got to have a pulse and be able to get a license. And the license is not hard to get, right? You just got to not have a felony. And I've seen people that, I knew a guy that had not graduated high school and he could barely read. No joke. And he got his license. And he was a hard worker too. He's a good dude. And he's a great dude. He's a good friend of mine. But it's just like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get a life insurance license and be able to provide financial products to people and make a lot of money. And so because of that, the name of the game for most companies is mass hiring, fill it, and they're going to, the cream is going to rise to the top, right? Whereas when you have an organization with culture and you're doing that, you are actually undervaluing your culture. You're undervaluing your core values because you're bringing people on board that may not suit your core values. And if they happen to be producers, they happen to be part of it, and they are not a part of your core values, they are a cancer to your core values. Ultimately, they will be a cancer to your core values, and it will cause more of a problem than anything else. And so the reason why you lead by it, and you set it at first, make it aware, you I have we call forcing functions where we utilize core values. Like I don't highlight agents for selling a lot or doing sales. I highlight agents for their behaviors, because the behaviors are going to produce the activity anyways. So I highlight them based off of the core values, right? Every single week, we do highlights for agents on core values. We talk about core values in meetings. During trainings, I reference a training topic to a core value and how it's applicable. So we have all these forcing functions to continue to remind people about the core values, right? I've recently started this past month while I'm in phase 3, every single day, I got it right in here. I got a box of cards. I send a handwritten note to, because I have agents all over the country. I send handwritten notes to agents and I just highlight them and I do a whole like, let me tell you about you. You're this,
Love
that,
it.
the other. You're this, you're like, this is what I see in you. I do one of the core values. I like sign it and then I send it off every single day. And I actually got a text from an agent who just got his card that I sent off like a week ago. And he sent me a voice message and he took a picture of it and sent to me. And it was just like, dude, this is unbelievable. Like, thank you so much. I didn't even expect this. Like, thank you for all you're doing in your leadership, XYZ. But it's, the point of all this is that when you have core values and you stand by them, you're in alignment with your business is in line with who you are. You will attract the right people that are in the same alignment. And it's not an additional factor. It's a multiplication factor, because you guys are both moving the bus in the same direction. You're both pulling the weight, but it's exponentially greater than the individual parts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's an excellent explanation. And I think you might have mentioned this. I might have missed it. I apologize. One of the huge things that I do when it comes to core values is I manage by them at all times. Every single opportunity I have to praise or criticize. And when I say criticize, it's just, kind candor
Corrective action.
of corrective action. But I say criticize and, it gets people all fucking shitty. But, the word, they're like, you can't criticize. Motherfucker, you don't work for me. And you're not going to work for me. So don't even fucking try.
Yeah.
Because we don't have HR in here. We have take care of your feelings. If you need to talk about it, that's fine. But handle your shit.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to. The opposite of what America is at this point. But anyways, going back to everything, praise and criticize off the core values at every single opportunity, I find is highly, highly, highly effective. It's more than just throwing the shit on the wall and saying, hey, these are our core values. It's, hey, was that proactive? Do you think you could have been more proactive in that situation? Yes? No? Was that respectful? Would you consider that respectful? Yes? No? Is that teamwork? Is that good teamwork? You know what? That's good teamwork. And it's really proactive. And that's respectful. And just yada, 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 all the core values. So super powerful. And I agree with you. The alignment is crucial. And, I think it's really important that we make sure that if anyone is interested in reaching out to you, I know we didn't talk about life insurance very much, but your accolades and our discussion your sales accolades, and when it comes to our discussion at the beginning of the show, if anyone is looking to get a hold of you, man, maybe they just want to learn about an IUL or, maybe a Roth or I don't know, some bullshit term life insurance policy, how can they find you?
Yeah. So the easiest place to find me is on my Instagram. It is Gregory A. Birch _. If you look at my content, I have an open page. If you look at my content, it's mostly sales, leadership, mindset stuff. I do a lot of reels and a lot of posts. You can also find me on Facebook. I think I'm maxed out on followers. You can follow me, but I can't friend you because I'm maxed out. But it's this Greg Birch. You'll see this ugly mug. And then my podcast that I have a podcast where I talk about a lot of this stuff. And it's called the Be the Difference podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. It also goes live on my LinkedIn and on YouTube, which is the Delta Financial YouTube, but you can also, I think, find it through Be the Difference.
And I've been on the YouTube, I believe, the podcast, and on your social media channel, other social media channels. So I really like your content. I think it's great. It just landed you some speaking gigs for next year, which is super awesome. We were talking about that before the show. And definitely check Greg out. In addition to that, we're going to have all of your links in the show notes for some SEO and backlinks, because that's what's most important. but most importantly, outside of SEO and backlinks and how to find you, thank you for giving us your time today and getting super vulnerable with us and explaining your come to Jesus moment, for lack of better terms. It's super powerful, Greg. Super fucking powerful.
I appreciate it, man. And ultimately, the reason why I share this story is because I hope that it resonates with somebody and somebody can identify with it and say, look at it, look at their life and say, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it. Cause that's true. There's
Exactly.
nothing special about me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when I was in a really tough time after our breakup, it was right when I was getting insurance and I was really shitty at insurance. It was right before I started taking off and getting good. And, I was working 2 jobs. I was working, as an insurance agent because it's 1099, you do whatever you want. And I was doing a sales job where I'd go in 9 to 5 and go make dials, and I hated it, but I only worked it for like 4 weeks. But there was a guy that I did training with, and I'll end it with this: I just this breakup, and this girl was on my mind. She came by the office to come get something from me that I brought to work. I saw her. I was really down after that. Like I just like I felt depressed, and so it was like 2 hours left of the day for dialing, before I could leave. And I was like, I can't do this. I got to leave. And the guy that I'd done training with, him and I kind of made friends a little bit. We would chat. He knew everything that was going on because I'm an overshare. And so he went outside for a smoke break, and I went outside to go talk to him. And I was like, dude, I got to go. I can't go back in there. Like, fuck this. I can't. I'm in my head. I need to get the fuck out of here. And what I really need to do is I would go to my car on my way home from work. I would listen to music that remind me of her, and I'd cry. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, I miss her, like a big
Music
old
does
bitch.
that.
So I'm walking to my car, and I could feel it. I could feel it. The tears were. I'm like, oh man, I got to get the hell out of here. And he texted me, and he was like, Greg, and he sent me a movie quote, a great one too. He's like, Greg, the night's always darkest before the dawn. The
Mm-hmm.
dawn's coming. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, keep going, bro. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, he's so right. Like, like no matter what you're going through, like there's a change will happen. There's good times that are coming. Just keep moving forward. And so I tell everyone that story of my dark times to hopefully show you that you can have the dawn's coming. You can have good times. You just got to do the work.
Powerful story. And 1 inch a day, man. 1 inch a day moving forward is better than no inches. And I think you provided some serious value and impact and influence today. I appreciate you doing that for us. For everybody listening, I speak on their behalf. We appreciate you, man. Hopefully we can get you back on the show next year at some point, and talk about the progress that you've made since then, and hopefully be able to deliver your perspective on a whole bunch of other topics, because an hour doesn't do you justice for the amount that you have to impact. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. I honestly, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm very, very humbled and honored to be on here. So thank you.
Everybody at the CW clinic is proud of you, man. And until next time, we'll catch you later.